off as well, please. Thank you. Um, you know, it was Socrates through Plato who said that all of philosophy is a preparation for death. And so what we're doing here in many ways is learning how to die, to be ready for that great transition, and to have an awareness of what's already on the other side, to have that in many ways colonize our consciousness here, so that we have a very easy transition and a recognition of knowing already who we are beyond the mortal coil. Right? So this is really what philosophy, which is in the Greek philosophia, which is the love of Sophia, the love of wisdom. And as we know, in the Heart Sutra of Buddhism, which is the Wisdom Sutra, the Prajna Paramita Sutra, the wisdom that goes beyond this shore, beyond this level of perception. It says at the crescendo of the sutra, gatte, gatte, pada, gatte, padasam, gatte, bodhi, swaha. And that means beyond, beyond, gone beyond. Illuminated mind, all hail. And so this is the idea of bringing this illumination into our present moment awareness, so that, as they say in Sufism, we die before we die. We die before we die. And so this is the beauty of these teachings, that they are, they've always been referred to from well back in the ancient world as the mysteries, right? The mysteries were considered initiatic religions. You had to be initiated. And to be initiated, you were usually secretly selected to go into these mysteries. And they were considered esoteric or mysteries because no one on the outside knew about them. We're at a stage in our development or evolution where we are undergoing a collective initiation. That's why these teachings, you can go on Amazon and get the most esoteric teachings imaginable. They're all being translated. You can get the Mahasiddha teachings of Tibetan Buddhism that were secreted in caves for thousands of years. You can get the Kabbalistic teachings of the Merkaba mysticism that was whispered from master to student for centuries. All of this you could purchase on Amazon and discover it for yourself. And so what we're recognizing here is that all is being revealed because we are approaching a transition point. We are approaching a collective initiation. And one might even say a collective death process. But we know that the immortal soul, the immortal consciousness can never die. And so this is why we have to discover it here and now, so that we can ride the waves. We can come to a realization now, so that when these death throes or, phases of the apocalypse maybe come on, we're not troubled by them too much. And we're able to see through the temporary discomfort or the temporary anxiety and know that on the other side is the rebirth, right? Death leads to rebirth. And so we continue to practice, we continue to make these sane choices. And that's really what we're going to be talking about this morning. Remember, I'm wanting to focus on very basic issues on Sunday mornings. And so we're going to first kind of look into Sufism a little bit and play with these ideas of the universal teaching, hidden in different forms, different religious and cultural expressions. But then we're going to go to the heart of the message this morning, which is the power of your choice. Right? So your ability to choose to wake up or to choose to stay asleep is your one true power in this life at this level of consciousness. Everything else is sort of part of the illusory game of mammalian, human, animal survival. But your real power is to choose, to wake up, to know yourself, right? And so we're going to look into that. We'll use much of the teachings on the choice maker will come from the Urantia book. And so this is one of the reasons why I wanted to precede that discussion with this idea of finding the essence in all religions and spiritual teachings. Because as you know, if you've been coming here on a Sunday morning, we cover the gamut, Taoism, Buddhism, yoga, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, etc., etc., A Course in Miracles. So all of these teachings, we are distilling the essence. What is it really saying in terms of the actual experience of waking up? And when you can get beyond the coverings and the wrappings and the appearances, you'll find the secret essence is usually this golden thread that runs through all these traditions. So we'll play with this idea a little bit. And to help us is Idris Shah and his classic book, The Sufis. So just a little bit here from Idris Shah. Sufi mysticism differs tremendously from other cults claiming to be mystical. He says here, formal religion is for the Sufi merely a shell, though a genuine one, which fulfills a function. When the human consciousness has penetrated beyond this social framework, the Sufi understands the real meaning of religion. So he's liking exoteric or mainstream religion like the outer shell of a nut. It protects the fruit inside until the fruit is ripened. And then you can crack the nut and go to the fruit. You don't eat the nut. You don't eat the shell, rather. You eat the fruit. So he's saying that once you're ready to penetrate beyond formal religion, you can come to the essence of all religion. The mystics of other persuasions do not think in this manner at all. They may transcend outer religious forms, but they do not emphasize the fact that outer religion is only a prelude to special experience. Most ecstatics remain attached to a rapturous symbolization of some concept derived from their religion. The Sufi uses religion and psychology to pass beyond all this. Having done so, he returns to the world to guide others on the way. So, gone beyond, right? This is the heart of religion, that we use these concepts and formal religious beliefs to cultivate this transcending quality within our own nature, right? The spiritual dimension of ourself. This is an actual experience that must be had, right? It's not optional in that sense. It reminds me of the introduction to A Course in Miracles that we read every week. He says, this is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can determine the curriculum. It means only that you can select what you want to take at a given time. So free will, this free choice, is choosing the curriculum of awakening in whatever form resonates with you. That's why he'll tell you later on in the Course in Miracles, he says this is a course. It's not the course. It's one expression of the universal curriculum. So whatever expression of the universal curriculum, whatever form resonates with you, that's where you'll find your awakening potential stimulated. That's one of the reasons why I offer a smorgasbord on Sundays, and why I'm offering Buddhist classes and classes on the Gita, so that you may find whatever resonates with you. But the real important point to take with us as we continue on is that all these concepts that we are using in the religious process or the spiritual awakening process are provisional. They're not reality. We're going to say much more about that in a few minutes. The concepts that we have about the sacred are provisional. They are temporary. It's a way of framing and deciphering the mystery. But the concepts aren't the mystery. The mystery is a mystery. It's a way of aligning to it accurately. Right? That's why a lot of these concepts that we are receiving through religious tradition are inspired. These great masters and teachers are getting downloaded from higher dimensions and then putting into these symbol systems. And these symbol systems carry frequency and transmission power so that our minds actually do resonate. They do feel that these are traces of the beyond coming into these forms. Right? So they have that bridging effect, but eventually we have to go beyond. They are provisional. We are in a nursery school, really. We are little babes, and we are undergoing a training, a developmental process, and we are going to graduate from stage to stage and grade to grade. And each time we graduate a grade, we're going to shed those old ways of expression. So this will go on. And he tells us this in A Course in Miracles. He says, you will take on many concepts of yourself as you go along. You'll shed them and take on another concept of yourself and shed that until you're ready to go beyond all symbols. Okay, good stuff. So we've mentioned this little story before, but we'll unpack it in a deeper way this morning to help us along with this recognition of the distinction between form and content. So this is the story, and Idris Shah gives an anecdote beforehand. He says, I report a glimpse of Sufis in a circle, the basic unit and very heart of active Sufism. And during this group, this Sufi circle, the first part of the proceedings is less formal when questions are asked and students are received. And on one occasion, a newcomer had just asked our teacher, and I guess his name is Agha, A-G-H-A, Agha, whether there was a basic urge toward mystical experience shared by all humanity. And then the teacher replied, we have a word which sums up all this. It describes what we are doing, and it summarizes our way of thinking. Through it, you will understand the very reason for our existence and the reason why mankind is generally speaking at odds. So you ready for this mysterious word, this skeleton key that's going to unlock everything? The word is Anguru Zumi Nab Staffel. Sounds like a Gurdjieff word. Anguru Zumi Nabel Staffel. And so he explained what he means by this. 4 men, a Persian, a Turk, an Arab, and a Greek, were standing in a village street. They were traveling companions, making for some distant place. But at this moment, they were arguing over the spending of a single piece of money, which was what they had among them. I want to buy angur, said the Persian. I want to buy uzum, said the Turk. I want to buy inab, said the Arab. No, said the Greek, we should buy staffel. Another traveler passing, a linguist, said, give the coin to me. I undertake to satisfy the desires of all of you. At first they would not trust him. Ultimately, they let him have the coin. He went to the shop of a fruit seller and bought 4 small bunches of grapes. This is my angur, said the Persian. This is my uzum, said the Turk. You have bought me inab, said the Arab. No, said the Greek, this in my language is staffel. The grapes were shared out among them, and each realized that the disharmony had been due to his faulty understanding of the language of others. The disharmony is a misunderstanding of the language of others. So the master explains the travelers are ordinary people of the world, right? They haven't gone through this initiation process yet. They haven't torn the veil of the mortal mind. The linguist is the Sufi. People know that they want something because there is an inner need existing in them. They may give it different names, but it is the same thing. Those who call it religion have different names for it, and even different ideas as to what it might be. Those who call it ambition try to find its scope in different ways, but it is only when a linguist appears, someone who knows what they really mean, that they can stop the struggling and get on with eating the grapes. So then he says the grapes are the preliminary level of coming into this higher truth. He says the Sufi speaks of wine, the product of the grape, and it's the grape's secret potential. The grape is seen as the raw form of the wine. Grapes then mean ordinary religion, while wine is the real essence of the fruit. The travelers are therefore seen to be four ordinary people differing in religion. The Sufi shows them that the basis of their religions is in fact the same. He does not, however, offer them wine, the essence, which is the inner doctrine, waiting to be produced and used in mysticism, a field far more developed than mere organized religion. That is a further stage, but the Sufi's role as a servant of humanity is brought out by the fact that although he is operating on a higher level, he helps the formal religionist as far as he can by showing him the fundamental identity of religious faith. He might, of course, have gone on to discussion of the merits of wine, but what the travelers wanted was grapes, and grapes is what they're given. Right? So this speaks to the fact that, skillfully understanding how much to give at a given time, right? Free will doesn't mean that you determine the curriculum. Free will means that you're in charge of how much you're going to open that spigot of spiritual realization and allow that flow of divine light to come into your mind. So it's the job of any facilitator, any kind of minister, to motivate you to want to open that spigot more. Because as we saw in our Thursday night Course in Miracles class, when we are undergoing this conditioning of our choice-making process, we're going to realize, very much like those pigeons in the behaviorist laboratory, that when you peck the food dispenser that has an electric current to it and you get shocked, you quickly learn that you don't want to peck that one anymore. You want to peck the dispenser that gives you the food pellet. And so now it feels good to have this dispenser as your option, your choice, rather than the one that brings you pain. And in our Course in Miracles class, Jesus was saying in this whole section on operant conditioning, I am conditioning you. I am conditioning you to associate pain with the ego and joy with the spirit. And we're going to feel this on a very subtle level, an energetic level, an instinctual and visceral level. And so this is why when we're tuned in or plugged into that visceral, energetic fabric, then you can begin to sense all of the teachings in whatever religions that are resonating and vibrating in truth frequency. because you've come to this place where you've learned how to rest into your subtle body, your subtle intuitive knowing. That's a very important stage in this process of discerning truth from falsehood. As David Hawkins said, when you're in the presence of truth, you feel strong, you feel bright, you feel clear, you feel something deep within you being acknowledged. When you're in the presence of falsehood, you get weak. You kind of want to recoil. You don't want that. Doesn't feel right. So this ability is part of being initiated. You begin to tune in on a frequency level to the vibrations of truth and discern them from the vibrations of falsehood. If our minds, let's say it this way, if we are still hostage to the lower mind, then in many ways we are cocooning ourselves within these false concepts, these forms, and disconnecting from our own intuitive knowing. This is how we're led astray by false authorities, by institutions that don't want our best interest, be they political, big business, or religion. You must discern for yourself what it is that is before you, what is being offered. And so that is one of the reasons why we have an emphasis on quieting down, becoming calm, not falling prey to the endless chatter of the conceptual mind. So one more stop on the Sufi train. This is a poem from Rumi. And he is with us. Totally unexpected, my guest arrived. Who is it? Asked my heart. The face of the moon, said my soul. As he entered the house, we all ran into the street madly looking for the moon. I'm in here, he was calling from inside. But we were calling him outside, unaware of his call. Our drunken nightingale is singing in the garden, and we are cooing like doves. Where? 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 A crowd formed. Where's the thief? And the thief among us was saying, yeah, where's the thief? All our voices became mixed together, and not one voice stood out from the others. And he is with you means he is searching with you. He is nearer to you than yourself. Why look outside? Become like melting snow. Wash yourself of yourself. With love, your inner voice will find a tongue, growing like a silent white lily in the heart. So I think Rumi captures for us in a beautiful way this redirection of our attention that is necessary in this pathway into enlightenment, that we have been so conditioned to project meaning and truth and enlightenment in God as if it were existing in the outer world and not in the immediacy of our subjective experience. And what Rumi is saying is the seeker has to melt inward. The seeker has to stop searching outward, because we are being called inward by the one that we're seeking. This is the beauty of it. When we are ready to let go of all of these disparate voices, we can hear him calling within. Rumi says something that's echoed in the teachings of Sri Ramana, where it says, "Where's the thief?" And the thief among us was saying, "Yeah, where's the thief?" And what Ramana is saying in one of his stories is the ego is the thief of your enlightenment. The ego is telling you you don't have the enlightened nature within you. It's one of the voices in the chorus of your mind. And it's telling you you don't have God within. You must find it outside. And so you'll never expect the thief to say, "I'm the thief." The thief is also going to say, "Yeah, where's the thief?" So this is why he's saying you have to melt within, become very quiet. You'll be able to discern all of these different voices, and then you will wash yourself of yourself. You will drop all self-concepts. And what will remain as this glowing white lily is your beautiful, discerning quality, your choice making. And you will get to a place where you know it's pain to choose the thief, and it's joy to choose the one, him, the beloved. Okay? So all of that preface to basically say, again, that what we are working with right now are all temporary expressions that lead us into the eternal awakened state. Now, the book of Urantia, it's quite remarkable. I won't go too far into the backstory of it, but if you've ever read, who's read the book, the Urantia book? Not too many. The book itself was given through what is termed the sleeping subject. The sleeping subject was this guy who would go to sleep at night and start talking in his sleep and would say all of these profound things. And his wife lived in the same hotel building as a psychiatrist. So the wife was kind of freaked out and knocked on the psychiatrist's door, and the psychiatrist came down to see the guy and listened to him when he would go into his sleep state, and this was pretty amazing, wrote it down, and began to have these notes of, massive amounts of teaching that were coming through, and they were coming through announced as these celestial teachers, right? So remember, I prefaced this whole thing with the Sufi story about let's not hold too tightly to the forms and the symbols here, but let's look for the fruit and the essence. Because if you have a bit of a doubt around these ideas of channeling and celestial teachers, totally get it. You should have a healthy skepticism when you're dealing with any of this stuff. That's why I said also, when you rest in your intuitive nature, you can feel truth vibration. The more quiet you get, the freer you are from yourself and those concepts, the more clearly truth can be broadcast. So see what you think. So we're going to start along these same lines of, in this section, it's called relativity of concept frames. Relativity of concept frames. Partial, incomplete, and evolving intellects would be helpless in the master universe, would be unable to form the first rational thought pattern were it not for the innate ability of all mind, high or low, to form a universe frame in which to think. So we're doing it right now. We have a universe frame, right? You have a whole way of picturing, imaging, understanding, defining a universe for your own inner self. Your universe ain't my universe. I don't know your universe. You have a very different kind of universe than I do, but we have common ground in some ways. But every mind is framing the universe in its own relative way. Can we all agree on that? If mind cannot fathom conclusions, if it cannot penetrate to true origins, then will such mind unfailingly postulate conclusions and invent origins, that it may have a means of logical thought within the frame of these mind-created postulates. In other words, if we're not cracking the nut of outer forms and appearances, remember our talk last week, appearance and reality? If we're not able to see beyond appearances and get to the reality or essence of truth, then that's going to, in many ways, have us invent what it is we think we see. We will then construe and conjure meaning in our universal frame. And that's pretty much what we're doing. This is why you get a lot of this in the biblical view of, the blind will lead the blind. This spiritual blindness. We're spiritually blind, and yet we think we see. But what we're seeing is our inventions, our belief systems, projected onto the screen of appearances. We're image making. We're not seeing. Right? It could be a little uncomfortable at first. And while such universe frames for creature thought are indispensable to rational intellectual operations, they are without exception erroneous to a greater or lesser degree. Right? Conceptual frames of the universe are only relatively true. They are serviceable scaffolding, which must eventually give way before the expansions of enlarging cosmic comprehension. So like I said, we're like in first grade, and we're learning these ideas of math and grammar, and we can't even fathom what it'll look like when we're in the college or master's degree. But right now we're learning the fundamentals. These fundamental truths are like scaffolding. They're providing structure and security and stability for our growing mind, our growing awareness. And as we begin to grow, we begin to shed, as we've been saying, and new scaffolding will arise to create frameworks sufficient to our level of realization and capacity. The understandings of truth, beauty, and goodness, morality, ethics, duty, love, divinity, origin, existence, purpose, destiny, time, space, even deity, are only relatively true. That's why the Turk, the Arab, the Greek, the Persian, they're all fighting over their words. And these words are all relative. Right? They're only relatively true. God is much, much more than a father. But the Father is man's highest concept of God. Nonetheless, the father-son portrayal of creator-creature relationship will be augmented by those supermortal conceptions of deity which will be attained in the higher levels or higher perceptions. Man must think in a mortal universe frame, but that does not mean that he cannot envision other and higher frames within which thought can take place. So we start at a certain level, but if it's our decision to open up, these higher realities can start to come in, and we can begin to form a basic understanding of how to orient ourselves to these higher truths. That's what's happening, hopefully, here and now. That your mind, although within the mortal framework, can begin to take on, as it says here, supermortal information. This is getting back to the idea of how we can die before we die. This is the love of Sophia. A little bit more here. In order to facilitate mortal comprehension of the universe of universes, the diverse levels of cosmic reality have been designated. And we don't have to go into that. The realms of the finite exist by virtue of the eternal purpose of God. Finite creatures, high and low, may propound theories, and have done so, as to the necessity of the finite in the cosmic economy. But in the last analysis, the finite exists because God so willed. So that's also getting back to the fact that, as it says in A Course in Miracles, these finite realms are like classrooms. And so we are in this learning process, and the whole purpose, according to these teachings, is that we can recognize our greater self. And our greater self is not divided between what it sees and what is seen. So what it sees is a reflection of what it is. And so this learning begins to dissolve boundaries. It begins to open us up to a higher perception that no longer sees other, but sees self in other. And this is how we heal ourselves. But remember, as Buddha would say, we're never alone as this self. This self is interbeing. So as we begin to see the self in others and others in ourself, we begin to actually let go of these ideas of war, hatred, opposition, anger, blame, etc. These are the graduating steps of moving through the classrooms. So now we get to the choice making. So where we start out, and this is pretty much across the board, we start out as time beings. We start out as beings identified pretty much as the animal body, and we have rationality. We're rational animals. And as this rational animal, we have the hidden potential of the divine light or the divine spark. Now, that can be the Christ within, the kingdom of God within. It can be referred to as bodhicitta in the Buddhist tradition, the Atman and the Vedantic tradition. All of these revelations, all of these insights recognize that harboring deep within our own consciousness is the divine potential. So it would be a disservice in this service if we just kept everything at a conceptual level. And so I'm hoping that we can use these ideas as stepping stones to go within. That we can have this inner drive, this inner desire, this choice to turn our attention inward and want to discover this unknown self, this hidden ground, this spark of the divine, the Holy Spirit, the soul within. So just take a moment and check yourself, check your motivation. Why are you here? What has you sitting before the teaching this morning? What do you want? What do you want to see possible and manifesting in your life? To find true peace. To have an unshakable and everlasting sense of joy and safety. To know yourself and your source in the immediacy of the here and the now. To have a deep sense of love and connection and belonging to all of life in its vastness of expression. All of this is possible. All of this is already given. All of this is yours. As it says in the Course, you will come to realize that having and being are one. You have everything because you are everything. You know that all selves are yourself. All life is your life. All love is your love. This beatific experience is brought on, made into an actualized reality through our choices. And so it says here, during your short life on earth, these two diverse and opposing urges, the animal tendencies and the high urge of spirit endowment, can seldom be fully reconciled. They can hardly be harmonized and unified. But throughout your lifetime, the combined spirit ever ministers to assist you in subjecting the flesh more and more to the leading of the Spirit. Even though you must live your material life, even though you cannot escape the body and its necessities, nonetheless, in purpose and ideals, you are empowered increasingly to subject the animal nature to the mastery of the Spirit. There truly exists within you a conspiracy of spiritual forces, a confederation of divine powers, whose exclusive purpose is to effect your final deliverance from material bondage and finite handicaps. So again, as we go within, as we quiet the false voices of the ego, we literally directly contact these spiritual forces, these confederations of divine powers within our consciousness. We are an aspect of God consciousness. Everything that God is, we are. And it says here to know that when we're choosing the Spirit, that the Spirit never drives, only leads. If you are a willing learner, if you want to attain spirit levels and reach divine heights, if you sincerely desire to reach the eternal goal, then the divine spirit will gently and lovingly lead you along the pathway of spiritual progress. Every step you take must be one of willingness, intelligent and cheerful cooperation. The domination of the spirit is never tainted with coercion nor compromised by compulsion. And then finally here. It's like that sci-fi geek in me comes out sometimes when I read this. Listen to this now. Mortal mind is a temporary intellect system loaned to human beings for use during a material lifetime. And as they use this mind, they are either accepting or rejecting the potential of eternal existence. Did you hear that? One more time. Mortal mind is a temporary intellect system loaned to human beings for use during a material lifetime. And as they use this mind, they are either accepting or rejecting the potential of eternal existence. We said the potential was the Atman, the kingdom of God within, the bodhicitta, right? This is the light that already indwells you. It's here already. It wants you to make contact. It wants you to merge with it and have this yoga or union with it, this great alchemy, so that your mortal mind can become engoldened, divinized, illuminated. Right? So this is the game we're playing. And the game is played choice by choice, moment by moment. We are either actualizing the potential or we are blocking ourselves from it. And we're in control. As it will say later on, we're the captain of our own ship. The divine spirit is the pilot, but the spirit waits on our choice making. It's never coercive. It's never trying to command or control. We have free will. Mind is about all you have of universe reality that is subject to your will, and the soul will faithfully portray the harvest of the temporal decisions which the mortal self is making. So the only power we really have is our choice making. And it says that when you're done with this mortal existence, you'll have some kind of a life review. You'll see the harvest of how you used your choice making potential. So that's what the soul will show you, right? It'll just show you and what you decided was of ultimate value and concern. Human consciousness rests gently upon the electrochemical mechanism below and delicately touches the spirit energy system above. Of neither of these two systems is the human being ever completely conscious in this mortal life. The electrochemical system is your mortal body, right? We are an electromagnetic computer at this bodily level. The mortal mind interfaces with the electrochemical body, and it interfaces with the superconscious spiritual system. And so this is why we're like a marginal energy with choice. We can totally invest in the electrochemical system of the body and completely identify with it and try to get electrical chemical stimulation through the environment as if this is the end all and be all. Or we can, as the marginal energy, turn our attention to serving the spirit. The bliss and joy of the spirit will then rain down into the mortal mind, and the mortal mind will be suffused with this higher joy, this higher bliss, this nectar of divinity, and then that will actually go through the circuit of the electrochemical system, and to a great degree maybe even divinize it. So, therefore, we must work in mind, the place that we are conscious. And it is not so much what mind comprehends. So this is really important now. This is really the focus of how values are understood in the spirit realm. Listen carefully. It is not so much what mind comprehends as what mind desires to comprehend that ensures your graduation. It is not so much what mind is like as what mind is striving to be like that constitutes spirit identification. It is not so much that a human being is conscious of God as that person yearns for God that results in universe ascension. What you are today is not so important as what you are becoming day by day and in eternity. What he's saying basically here is you're governing everything through your intention. Intentionality is what you'll experience the fruit of. What are your intentions? You might mix things up, you might be confused, but if your intentions are pure, the outcome will also reflect your intention. Not so much how much you comprehend, but that you want to know. That impulse will then be given to you by the Spirit to actually know. You'll get everything you really want. You don't have to have it now. You don't have to have it all together now. But if your intentions are pure and genuine, it will come. So finally here, mind is your ship, the Holy Spirit is your pilot, the human will is captain. The master of the mortal vessel should have the wisdom to trust the divine pilot to guide the ascending soul into the harbors of eternal bliss. Only by selfishness, slothfulness, and sinfulness can the will of man reject the guidance of such a loving pilot and eventually wreck the mortal career upon the evil shoals of rejected mercy and upon the rocks of embraced sin. With your consent, this faithful pilot will safely carry you across the barriers of time and the handicaps of space to the very source of the divine mind and on, beyond, even to the paradise Father of all spirits. Gate, gate, para, gate, parasam, gate, bodhi, swaha. Blue bag's going to go around. Any thoughts? Come, John. How would I define Rumi? The thing with Rumi was he was a practicing Muslim from the cradle to the grave. So he was a fundamentalist on some level, prayed 5 times a day, was a great scholar of jurisprudence, Islamic law, but he was also a totally ecstatic mystic. He was a man of his times. And what we get often with Rumi is people like Karlin Barks and other translators, they'll make Rumi more into our Western sentiments. So a lot of the times when we're getting translations like I read from, I think this is from Helminski, you'll get sort of you'll get Islam light or no Islam at all in some of these love poems of Rumi. So Rumi is, like you said, wearing many hats. He would never have rejected the Quran, considered the Quran totally inspired, but he also saw the unity behind all religions. Again, a man of his times, who knows? Maybe he was just doing that to save his own skin. Who knows? Because, the penalties were extreme if he would ever come out from under the fundamentalism of his day. But he's a enigmatic figure, to sum all that up, and a great luminary, obviously. And we charge this with the intention that whatever form this energy takes may it be used to bring happiness to all beings, and so it is. Amen. Anybody else? Thoughts? I'm interested in David Hawkins. Uh-huh. David Hawkins. You just want me to riff on David Hawkins? He was an interesting guy, quite a character, and a lot of TNT packed in a small package. I found him very, very helpful. I seldom go back to his works now. It's just I'm not in the headspace for the overly academic and psychological aspects that he will often bring out. Doesn't mean that what he's putting out isn't incredibly helpful. I think his scale of consciousness was very informative. The muscle testing was also an interesting thing. And I think he would even say this, that you get to a point, like we've been saying, like, these teachings help you like training wheels. They get you going. And when you begin to, get those wins, those spiritual wins in your sail, sometimes you're going beyond these earlier views and formations. And in his scale, he has the God view of going up the scale. And eventually, the God view is self, right? And so this is why we're looking at teachings, hopefully, that will continually nourish this direct and immediate connection. And, learning how to discern truth from falsehood, his first book, incredibly important. Yeah. Okay? All right, let's seal the deal, my friends. Coming to rest within the quiet of the heart, realizing that within is all that we want to find. The truth, the beauty, the goodness, and the holiness is here. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Amen. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Thank you so very much. See you again. Course in Miracles tomorrow night, 7:15 p.m.